All right. So I've learned that if you combine proactively reaching out to people who are predisposed to invest with you, and you use written materials to attract, and you do some speaking or at least video podcast work, and you combine those three, then things go a lot better than if you don't. A lot of people just reach out and do the proactive selling, and then they don't have these credibility pieces to show them. They don't have an educational folder. They don't have anything we're talking about in this section. A lot of people are not natural speakers, and they're nervous to speak in public. The first time I spoke in public, I was like 24 years old, and I couldn't even eat that day. I thought I was going to throw up, and I was just on a discussion panel. And I was at the European Business Summit in Belgium, and they had flown me out there. And I'm sure when I arrived, they were like, who is this kid? Like, who brought their son? But I had written like 500 articles on hedge funds on my blog at the time. And I'm sure they looked online, like, oh, this guy won't mess it up. He's written 500 articles. He's got a #1 blog. And so they flew me out there with my now wife, and not on my panel, but during that same 3-day conference, they had 3 prime ministers on stage. Like, I didn't belong there at all, right? And so I got real nervous and then got used to it. But if you're bad at speaking and you hate doing it, you could just record a podcast or be interviewed by someone else and just act like you're having a cup of coffee with a friend talking about what you do. If that makes you nervous and you don't like that, you can just record your own podcast episodes, delete them 5 times if you think they're horrible, and then keep the 6th one. No one will ever know. And then you can grow into having conversational cup of coffee podcast interviews. So you can then transcribe those interviews into articles, turn your articles into white papers, and never be good at writing, but because of those casual talks, have all the content you want. Then it makes you more confident about speaking because you can be more articulate about your ideas and combining them and communicating them clearly. So I'm really bad at writing, and I've written 13 books. So it doesn't matter what your excuse is. You can get it done one way or another. At Harvard, I had a final paper due, and I had revised it several times, and I showed it to my TA, who was from the Czech Republic. Her first language was Czech, and she chalked it all up in red ink. And then her first question to me when we sat down, she's like, "Is English your first language?" I was like, "Yeah, it is actually, And I've written a dozen books. So however bad at writing you are, you can hire somebody to help correct your writing. And the best way to write a book, I found, is to create a PowerPoint. It's 12 slides long. Each PowerPoint, you tell a case study, a story, an insight, a mistake, and then you give that presentation 6 times with just 12 slides, and then you record it the 6th time. You upload it to rev.com, and for $1 a minute, they'll transcribe it, and then each PowerPoint slide is a chapter of your book, and now you have a 100-page book already drafted. You just have to do the transitions and then beef it up with a couple pictures or a diagram or a case study or a YouTube video you recorded. And now you've written a book just by giving a presentation 6 times. Way easier than sitting down and just like making yourself write for an hour every Friday.